Good morning. Happy Sunday. So we have a new president-elect here in the United States. And, it shows you one thing. Don't ever give up. Joe Biden's first run for the presidency was in 1987. And then he did a second run for president. He had been done from politics for several years. It seemed like his chance to run for president was 4 years ago when he didn't run for good reasons. He had just lost his son, and he admittedly said that he just was not in a place to assume those responsibilities. So he chose not to run at that time. And then when he started this campaign, I looked at it and I was like, Joe, it's just, your time has passed. 4 years ago was your chance when everything may be aligned for you, but it's just not the right time. And then now here he is, president-elect. So vote for him or didn't vote for him, the point for our purposes are never give up. So now he's elected president at 78 years old. 48 years, he got declared president-elect 48 years after he was first elected to the Senate. And when he was first elected to the Senate, by the way, he was too young. He was 29 years old. The only reason that it was okay was because by the time he got sworn in, he was going to turn 30. So that's why he was allowed to be on the ballot. And then, most of you probably know, his wife and child were in a severe car wreck, and he was actually at his wife's deathbed when he was sworn in. And he wasn't going to take it. And I forget who it was. It was like Kennedy or somebody called him up and said, no, you got to do this. You got elected, then you got to do this. And he sat on the Senate for, 40 years, 38 years. So if you get on this personal development path, Sunday's always our big picture kind of conversation. I want you to remember that your journey is your journey. The answers, the basic answers for this stuff are all the same. But who you get the answer from is going to change, and that may well change how you perceive it. And the right answer is going to be different as you go on your journey. Let me give you an example. First Tony Robbins seminar I went to was in 1996. And I came back from that seminar and I did everything. I did all of the stuff. And back then, the food approach was to eat nothing but fruit and fruit juices until noon. And then start eating solid foods and da-da-da-da-da. Now, in retrospect, is that an awesome way to live? Is that long-term sustainable? No, that's not the greatest approach. But that was the best school of thought at that time. So was that wrong? Well, no, because when I came back, I quit drinking alcohol, I quit drinking coffee. I did everything, and I completely changed how I looked, and quite frankly, I completely changed my life. So even though you could look back and say, well, you shouldn't have done the food this way, you should have done the food this way, so what? It changed your life, and it changed your life for the positive, so that's what's really important. So as you go on this path, you're going to find different tools, you're going to find different answers, you're going to find different approaches. How I'm approaching my finances now is completely different from how I did 20 years ago. And what I did 20 years ago wasn't wrong. It's just not right for me now. How I approach time management is different. How I approach, my mornings is different. The food thing is a wonderful example because that just continues to change over time for all of us. What I did 8 years ago is completely different from what I'm doing now, and I'm sure it'll change again in terms of what I should be utilizing. The point of this is remember the big picture. If you're looking for answers, you'll find them because you're putting that reticular activating system to work where you're like, look, I want this to be better in my life. And if you do that, then your brain is going to find things in order to make it better in your life. And you always want to be evaluating. So don't pick one thing and then decide that's it forever. Constantly be getting input on these topics and constantly be evaluating how you're doing this. You know, if you're running a business, you have to constantly be evolving that business. The systems that you put into place 10 years ago are likely not going to be the same systems that you need to use today in order for the business to be successful. And that's probably the same thing 5 years from now. Some things will stay consistent, but some things will need to change. Technology will change things. Staff will change things. The consumer will change things. Marketing will certainly change. This is no different. The personal development path is a journey, not a destination. So it's constantly evolving and constantly changing. So number one, don't feel badly if what's working for you or what you are attracted to is differently from somebody else. If somebody comes up to you and says, you know, the way that you're doing this is completely wrong. If it's working for you, then it's not completely wrong. Don't feel badly about what you did in the past because that got you to today. And that's part of your journey is to get you here. And now from here, you move forward. And just because something is working perfectly for somebody else doesn't mean that it's going to work perfectly for you. That's especially true with food. That's especially true with sleep. That's especially true with time management because systems work differently for different people. That's especially true for money. You know, there's certain fundamental rules. Sure, you should always pay yourself first. You should always save. But in terms of investing, there's a ton of different ways to do it. So that may work. One thing may work for one person that doesn't work for another. Maybe you want to be a trader. Maybe you want to be an investor. Maybe you want to do real estate, but you want to do it in a different way. If you want to do real estate, are you an owner? Are you a flipper? Are you a builder? Those are much different things. But find what works for you and then develop it over time. Remember the fundamental basic formula. Decide what you want first. Figure out what the outcome is. Then, once you make that decision, which means cut off from any other options, find somebody who has created the same result that you want and then do what they do. That's the best way to then get there. You know, we want to compress decades into days, and the way to do that is by learning from other people's mistakes. Don't go reinvent the wheel. Find somebody that's created that same result, sow the same seeds, and you'll reap the same rewards. But understand that this is an evolution. This is a never-ending process of growth. And so enjoy that part. That what you're doing today is not what you're going to be doing 5 years from now, and you need to continue to evolve and become the next evolution of you. This journey never ends, and that's what's great about it. We had one of the pillars of my community passed away several years ago, and when he died, everybody, you know, he wasn't that old. He was in his early 70s, but when he died, everybody was like, God, it didn't seem like he was that old. Not that that was even that old, but he just seemed so much younger. And the reason was because this person always was doing the next thing for him. And especially with regards to business for him. He started one business and then he was doing another business. At first he was in the electrical business, and then the electrical business evolved into a general contractor that built all kinds of massive stuff. And then he got into horses, and he was always doing the next thing. And he got into windmills. And the thing about him was whatever the next thing was for him, that was going to be the next step, and that was going to be something else that he was going to be excited about and move into and move through. So when he passed away, everybody was like, man, he seemed so young. even though he was in his early 70s, because you could tell that this guy just had so much more that he was going to do. I mean, he was not done. Remember, we're either growing or we're dying. Those are our options. And if you're trying to hang on to what you got, you're dying. So we want to be like water. We want to be flowing. When water is flowing, it tends to be cool. It tends to be clean. It tends to be nutrient rich. It tends to be something that brings life. When water gets stagnant, it tends to be something that takes away life. We want to be evolving all the time. So this is a journey, not a destination. And enjoy all the steps. Don't wait till you all of a sudden become the king of the earth and then all of a sudden you're going to be happy. You got to learn to happily achieve and not achieve to be happy. Have a great Sunday, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. We're all in this together. Let's take care of each other.